Harvard Business School with John Davis. And a special thank to Jonathan and Cristiana Falcone, the visionaries of this initiative, family business community at the World Economic Forum. And I started like a bionic initiative, and look how it's getting, how it's growing, and the diversity of the group here. So it's a real pleasure to share some of the experiences, some of the history here. So indeed, asking Eric's question is definitely a competitive advantage. If we look not only at bank, financial institution, but other companies, not only if they're well run, well managed, they perform better over time than a non-family controlled business. In our case, we believe that being an exception, and we question ourselves, is it right? Because in the only one big financial institution owned by a family group or two, three families, and you may ask and may argue that Santander is another one, but Santander, in the case after the death of Emilio Botín, the whole family has less than 1.5% of the shares. They have influence but not the control of the business. So having said that, definitely having the DNA, the long-term vision, the principles and the values, and the commitment to continue to invest in new technologies, in people, our creative asset, even through the cycle, in different crises, we believe that on the long run, we will perform better than the other institutions. So to give an example, the latest merger that we did between Itaú and Unibanco was exactly in the year 2008, when we had global financial crisis just after the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers, and had also a lot of uncertainties in Brazil. And we knew, like the Chinese do, that the crisis also means opportunities. So we don't regret, after 6 years, the merger is established. We have consolidated our leadership, not only in Brazil, but also in Latin America. And now we are prepared for higher dreams, higher aspirations, which is to become the global Latin American bank. That's long-term vision that unites the shareholders for the future.
So we want to talk a little bit about the business, a little bit about the family. Let's go back 90 years. The business is started by your family and another family. And when we spoke earlier, you described it as sort of two rivers coming together in terms of values and aspirations. Talk a little bit about the vision of the two families when you came together, what the aspiration was for the business and for the family.
The bank celebrates this year 90 years old. It was a very special occasion, so shows how solid, how resilient, and how trustworthy can be this franchise. By the way, today Itaú, the brand, was voted in Brazil the most valued brand in Brazil and in Latin America. It's just a goodwill of the brand, worth $10 billion of the brand. So we have to really take care of this brand. And because it's very hard to build it can take 90 years, but it's very easy to destroy it, as you saw in other Wall Street firms, in other industries, and so on. So like our people, the brand is one of the biggest assets. But as Eric was saying, the bank was founded by my great-grandfather, and we believe that the same values, the same culture, the same principles that originate the Moreira Salles family and the Setúbal Vilela family. Egidio Souza Aranha was the surname of my great-grandfather. Allow those two rivers with different histories, different backgrounds, the smaller on one side, bigger on the other, to join, to be deeper, wider, stronger, in order to commit for a common vision or a common future that unites us, to diversify outside Brazil. As you notice, and you follow some of the news, Brazil is getting riskier, especially after the last 12 years with the Workers' Party in government. So definitely we see as an opportunity to diversify outside Brazil and have a vision for 2020. And one of the things that allow this marriage to really work, not only the culture, which is key for a successful merger, the long-term vision, the principles, but also to believe that we can make a difference, we can change the world for better, the society around us. That's really inspires us, and that's the purpose of the merger and the aspirations and the dreams are going forward.
So I want to talk more about the social impact side of your life and of the business as Unite. I have the great opportunity to advise family business owners and family philanthropists around the world on their philanthropy and their impact investing. If I had to sort of generalize a little bit between business owners in the United States and business owners in Latin America, I would say that so many executives in the United States have successful business careers so that they can become philanthropists. And for most American business owners, it is something they engage in later in life. In Latin America, it seems like most of the family business owners that I come into contact with are the opposite. The philanthropy is sort of engaged from the beginning and is sort of built into their passion and their business. You and your wife and your son now have a foundation. Tell us a little bit about tell us first why it's called the PBR Foundation, and tell us what you're doing and how it interacts and how it supports the business.
Well, starting with the macro and then went to the micro, our family also had a strong belief that we should be good to society and help change the world and should invest in 3 pillars. That's why we've been sustaining the financial institution for very long. First, the economic pillar. Second, the social pillar. And third, the cultural pillar. Therefore, we know that we have to have results year after year in sustainable fashion. Actually, by the way, our vision is being a leader, the bank that's a leader in sustainable performance and client satisfaction. And we've been following that. After we have the performance, also we can have purpose and profits. One can also don't have to be or, it can be and. So we have profits and purpose. That's the economic pillar. On the social side, we also had a very strong social foundation focused on integral education. And we have been doing a huge impact in the country and in the other markets in Latin America, because every market we have a bank, we have a social foundation. That's a key strategic decision because it's a belief on the DNA, on the family. And the social foundation builds public policies for the government and helps more than 25,000 schools in the country. So not only distribute books, read to a child, children, etc., but also provide content to be used in the public schools in the country. On the third pillar, it's presided by my mother, is the foundation, cultural foundation, Itaú Cultural. The Cultural Institute is already very linked to the Ministry of Culture of the country as well, and prepares a lot of content in terms of culture, exposition, and we try to rotate different cultures in Latin America in terms of photography, in terms of art, in terms of expedition, even movies. We own a movie chain inside Itaú Cinema. I don't know if Alejandro Ramirez is here, but it's not a competition in Cinépolis. It's just something that we believe that the seventh art to promote this platform that we call the Change the World. We have platform with those 3 pillars. On the top, we have urban mobility, all the orange bikes in Latin America, like the city bikes you have here in New York, etc., are sponsored by Itaú. The movie theaters, the sports, actually, by the way, Miami Open of tennis will be presented by Itaú starting next year. In terms of arts, education, we all believe that doing good, it's good for society, and we can really build something that's sustainable. It's not by chance that Itaú was the only financial institution chosen by the Dow Jones World Sustainability Index as one of the most sustainable banks in the world, and then been there in the index 15 years in a row. It's the only company being in this index for such a long time without getting out. So that's the values that it's paying off in terms of results, in terms of dividends, because we see a spiral going up. We start focusing and training a lot our employees that will be happy at the end of the day, will serve well our clients, that in turn clients will be results, they will pay dividends, they will pay higher taxes to the government, they will come back to society. So definitely we try to strive to do the right thing in order to be proud and to be a shareholder that likes what it's doing, a shareholder that believes in the cause.
I want to ask you one more question and then invite our friends to chime in with their questions.
I forgot to answer your question of PDR. So that's on the corporate level.
Right.
My wife and I that is there, we decided that we don't have to get old or to get very rich to start a foundation, an institute. So this year we started a small institute to organize all the philanthropy initiatives that we had to focus and have social impact in our community in São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. So PDR could mean Patricia, Daniel, the fifth generation, Ricardo, or purpose-driven resources. Resources that are allocated with a very intelligent and diverse board in order to solve social issues, education, skateboards for kids that have drug problems and addiction and so on, giving opportunity for people who are excluded to society, and other initiatives that cross-fertilize one another. So it's incredible by what $5,000, $10,000 can have a huge impact in one person, one family, and one community.
So as you all think about questions that you might have for Ricardo about his family, about the business, about their social impact, let me ask you, we were talking about how you had your own career and then you got called into the business. One thing you said to me has stuck in my mind, which is, I was asking you about advice for other next generation members of family businesses, and what you said was, be known for your first name, which I thought was really rich. Say more about that.
Yes. First of all, who am I to give advice for this experienced crowd of family business owners and shareholders? But if I can give my 2 cents contribution, I've learned that I had to test myself before, because I was projecting my career. That what if, when I in the 30s and 40s, I'll be in the family business, I'll always question if it's legitimate for me to be there or not. Am I there because of my last name or because of my first name? That's why when I entered the business, I decided to change my name, because my family was known by Vilela family. So I'm known in the bank as Ricardo Marino, the name of my father. Because since the beginning, I said to myself, I want to be known by my first name, what I do, not by last name, what my grandfather or my great-grandfather had done for the bank. So I think we have very much a meritocratic culture in order to value the performance, the contribution of the individual, and the values that you bring to the business. And now, after we implemented the thesis, we don't want only to develop future executives of the bank, of the other companies, but we want to develop future and responsible shareholders, and eventually, and luckily, also very good board members, future board members for the company. So that's why I try to work hard in other companies, in other banks. Also, Crédit Commercial de France, Garantia Bank was the leading bank at the time in Brazil. It's owned by Jorge Paulo Lema, Marcel Sucupira, the owners of Gillette, Burger King, you name it, the beer, Anheuser-Busch, etc. That's the culture that came from Banco Garantia, and he taught me that thinking big use the same energy, the same efforts of thinking small. And therefore, we believe that in doing so, I was doing my IPO in the market to know what was worth by my contribution. I went to work at Goldman Sachs in New York, and then in London. And then I was called to be an entrepreneur inside the family business. It's a funny story. I was there and they received an email saying that now HR had a new device. It was 1999. The internet, you could file for a job application through the internet. So I doubted this thing will work. Just to make a test, I copy and paste my resume in English. I even translated to Portuguese and pressed the send button. And then back to my wife, probably it'll take me more than 2 months to reply and give my feedback. Strangely, after 17 days, I received a call from nobody less than a vice president of the bank asking, "Are you Ricardo?" "Yes." "You send a resume to HR?" "Yes." "By the way, by coincidence, are you the son of Milu Vilela?" I said, "Yes, indeed, that's myself." And so I thought I knew you, and we need somebody to work at the corporate bank here at the bank. I said, "Thanks, but no thanks. With all the respect, if you ask for 10 bankers out of 10, and Itaú, where they would love to work at this time, they'll probably say Goldman Sachs. Why am I leaving Goldman Sachs to go back to Itaú? At that time, they had a closed career. They hired nobody from outside. So I had to wait another couple years when they really started opening up, bringing more meritocratic, performance-based evaluation, so on, to give an opportunity to start a new business. It was a credit card business. Now our credit card business has 45 million customers. It came from nothing like 10, 12 years ago, and was the one that came back to establish this business intelligence. So I had to convince my wife that it was okay to leave London, where we had established life, friends, and all the routine, to take the risk to go back in 2002 in the middle of a transition of political party. Lula, you remember, was a socialist guy, taking country, the MSCI risk went to more than 2,000 points. The real went to $4 to $1, so a lot of risk, a lot of uncertainty. So it's now or never. It's time to go back and take those risks, and I don't regret until now.
Well, let me see if any of our colleagues have any questions for you.
I have a question for you. Clearly you have incredible strategic vision, long-term vision. How do you balance the pressure of your free float, and you are a publicly traded company as well. You're also listed in New York. How do you balance the two, the vision that your family have, that you clearly have, the passion for the social projects that you do, with the pressure of delivering results every quarter and going through these ups and downs, particularly with Brazil?
It's a very good question because, as I said, Itaú today is called, the ADR is called YouTube. iTube. No, it's the same ticker, and it's very hard because every quarter we have to fulfill the pressure of analysts, investors, and so on. But we try to manage those expectations. We do APIMAX a lot of every 3 months, every quarter. We do meetings with different investors in all states in Brazil and US. Although we focus on how we're going to deliver the performance every budget, every year, we try to make sure we offer guidance of medium, long-term perspective for credit growth, for efficiency rate, for retention of people. And we set up the Vision 2020, which means that we have a vision to become a more international bank by 2020, to have at least 25% of our assets and revenues coming outside Brazil with such and such ROE and so on. And every year we tick the box, how aligned was the promise, the guidance with the real delivery. So we try to manage the short term and the long term in this fashion, but surely that sometimes people ask why you're going to become international. I'm Brian, Brazilian bank, mostly a Latin American bank. If I want to diversify, I can do it myself. I don't need you to internationalize the bank. But we've been developing, as the last 8 years, a track record of adding value outside Brazil as well. So far, so good. We have this little box called Itaú in the Box, where we export best practices in human capital, culture, systems, processes, branding, and so on. And we show that in Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, even in Peru, Colombia, we can add value and are making the investors happy. So far, so good. And then we have also a track record of outperforming all the major indexes locally and internationally. So it's hard because if they don't like it, they can sell, and it's very liquid stock to sell in the stock market.
Another question or two. One more straight back here.
And talking about the bank, as you grow, as you diversify, as you enter new markets, how do you maintain the culture of the bank? How do you maintain that unique culture and that family feeling as you grow?
Thank you, Eric, for your question. And by the way, we're here in Miami also because Miami is the capital of Latin America. So we're definitely here with our private bank unit where we serve our Hispanic and Latin American clients.
And a
from
couple
here.
of your colleagues from the Miami office are here as well, right?
Or future potential clients, definitely. But having said that, we have to be in place, have to be engaged. I personally get involved in a lot of road shows to take the ethical code to the other countries. When we buy banks, try to buy banks with the same values and principles, and then you adapt to have the same culture. We have the what, the how, and now trying to foster to have the why. It took me a long time. When I was running HR, by the time we merged, it was the most challenging job of my life. The 3 years I was running HR, just in the middle of the merger, and we're striving to have a vision, which was where we go. It's just the complex that gives the true north. How we do it, and we have 10 commandments of attitudes that we expect for all our employees. Focus on the client, ethical and responsible leadership, with bright eyes, and working in teams and so on. But now, finally, we're developing the why. Why do you wake up every day early in the morning, leave your family, take traffic jams, spend 10, 12 hours at work and come back just for the bonus a year from now? That's very poor. Just to fulfill another profit goal or ROE target, that's still very poor. So we're developing the why. The why is the purpose and the cause, and we are achieving our higher aspirations is to change the world for better with this platform, to transform the lives of the people that we serve. So we have to walk the talk, make all the managers, the leaders, be role models, and we develop a partnership program at the bank as well. Usually you see partnership programs in boutique, investment bank, Goldman Sachs. But now we have for our Achilles opportunity to become partners and be aligned with the shareholders, what they do and how they do it. That's the way we try to multiply the example, the values, and the principles of the family.
I think we had one more here.
Yeah, Lawrence from Peru. I was really inspired by your words about the pillars, the 3 pillars that your family kind of lives by. And we are beginning really to work in philanthropy in my family. And one of the big questions we have is, how do you measure the impact of that philanthropy? And I heard about your program, you just spoke about giving skateboards. And as we go and we have a huge amount of capital allocated towards this, there's so much that can be done in my country in terms of philanthropy. Everywhere you look, people need help. And how do you go about choosing the projects that you give capital to, and how do you measure that impact in a reasonable way that says, look, I did something that really affects people in the future?
Thank you for your question, and I will answer very shortly. Itaú was always known being a bank of engineers. So everything we do is calculated, very analytical, very objective. Therefore, one of the key tools that we have developed in the Itaú Foundation was ROSI, Return on Social Investment. It's a tool really works that we put in the matrix, and we have exported to other family businesses and also NGOs in Brazil, that we try to measure the impact even before and after to see if it's doing well or not. And we continue those initiatives that are really having a positive impact in society and discontinue the others. If you have more details, I can also email you and show the methodology, but it's one of the key differentiating factors that we have applying the tool in order to make sure we have the optimal allocation of our resources on the right projects.
Ricardo, I think we have one last question before we let you in.
Thanks, Ricardo. I'm really impressed with what you did. My name is Ayman Tamer. I'm coming from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. My question is, with all these mergers and you're doing in the work, for sure coming from HR helps a lot when you have an organization that has to adapt and change to all the mergers. But what are you doing with succession planning for yourself, for the next generation?
I'm still very young, but
it goes fast.
Don't take it personal.
I didn't mean that.
I was not from HR. I happened to be there because I had the why very aligned with the best values and the Itaú way of doing things. So when our HR guy, after 5th times, he asked to resign, our CEO accepted and invited me to take this position. And actually I'm more involved with the H than with the R. I believe in human-centric companies and resources. Any factory can have resources. So we first thing we did was to change the name, the division of people, the area of personas. So it's not just a resource to have profit at the end of the process. Therefore, we believe that we're talking about succession as of today, because our CEO is 60 years old, and that's the threshold limit to retire in the company. So he has 2 hats now. He has a head of president of the holding financial company, and he's CEO of the retail bank. So what he's doing now, he's extending his mandate to 2 years. He'll continue to be president of the holding company, but he will divide in 2 general managers the pillars of running the wholesale bank and the retail bank. And for that purpose, we're discussing a lot of succession on the holding company with the 3 families, on the board level, and the governance committee of the board, in order to structure this process that will happen in April 2015. But also, he has been historically a taboo. Itaú doesn't announce any succession and a T+-1. We try to avoid doing this process, because I think, as soon as you indicate that someone could be a potential successor, it also shift, and the dynamics of the bank will change. Sometimes we're living, actually, this mea culpa, we could improve a lot. In the succession process. And just now, we're getting at the end of the year, we start talking and working more seriously on that front. So when I was HR, I was the first one to develop in the bank what we call today succession committees. Because one of the guys who was running the bank in Paraguay was retiring. I said, what shall we do? So we started, instead of myself pointing out who will be the successor, we started having a committee facilitated by HR and invited partners and other allies and clients to discuss and to analyze the PEP, what we call a strategic people process, a leadership review, where we have mapped in 2 dimensions all the high potentials, the high delivers, the low aligners, and so forth, and to decide in a bigger group, so nobody has the power in one pen to approve. So we define this, the potential candidates to discuss and select one. So this practice now is mandatory before any promotion in the bank. So it's more structured, but at the very top, we didn't apply that yet. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. I think before I wrap it up, Marie has a question.
Thank you very much, Ricardo, for sharing the story about your journey and Itaú. Tying it back to a little bit the theme of these next 2 days, I would be very interested in hearing your thoughts on, we have a very diverse group in here, and some of these next gens have chosen to be operational in their family businesses. Others have chosen a different approach and might be more involved in certain aspects, the philanthropic side, the boards. Some of them have disconnected and chosen to do their own path. It sounds like you have done a long journey and a lot of hard work to reach where you're at today. And it would be interesting to hear a little bit about what are really the main drivers for you in your work. And, we all know the dynamics of having one family involved in the family business, having 3. I can imagine there have been quite a few challenges on the way. So what drove you to take this operational role within Itaú?
Since I was a kid, I knew I had a passion for working in the financial sector. But some of my mentors said, if you want to work in this bank specifically, you better be an engineer from University of São Paulo, the Polytechnic School. I said, well, but I'm not strong in math, not in physics. So you better work hard, your weakest points, your gaps, in order to develop that. So I did it. I was better in history, in biology, even business. had to work hard, and I was one of the last guys to enter in the exams for University of São Paulo, but working even harder, was one of the first ones to get out. So I basically catch up on those weakest points to know how to solve equations and difficult and complex financial problems, to go back and work in other companies before going back to the family business. But I believe that you should follow your dreams, you should follow your vocation. If you can fit and have a match between your dreams, your talents, and the needs of your family business, it will be great. We have a huge leverage, huge potential that everybody will be happy. But don't do anything against your will, because you must defend the family legacy. You should follow definitely your dreams. And we stimulate people not only to become executives like in the past, but to be proud and responsible shareholders. Or even if you have the vocation, understand about the business, the risk, and contribute in a higher level, such as board member. Because once we did the merger, we agreed to agree. And it's very hard, agree to agree. Sometimes we disagree. So how establish the governance systems in order to have the discussions to make constructive debate. And I believe humbly on the motto of the watch, Patek Philippe, definitely we're servants, we're stewards, we don't own the business, we just serve it and pass from one generation to the other. We're guardians of this business. So my motivation is just not something to own it, but to leave it better for the next generation than I receive it.
Ricardo, from 90 years ago when those families, those two rivers came together, to you going out and demonstrating your own real value before entering the business, and now thinking about how you call other family members into the business, you and your wife, and the fifth generation starting a family foundation so early in your career. You certainly embody the values of the Fórum and this group here, and thank you for being here. Ricardo will be around for a little bit. If you don't have a chance to speak with him this evening, when you wake up in the morning, look out on the water, and at 8:30 you'll see somebody kite surfing out there, and that will be Ricardo, who we know by your first name. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. What a pleasure.
Thank you very much as well. Ricardo, thanks again for the help. A couple of quick